I'm Jarrad Brown, Australian expat financial planner based here in Singapore. Welcome to my video series where we tackle the tough personal finance questions asked by Australian expats. Today I want to talk to you about a very simple topic: how do I save for my child's education? Now, studies have found that education from preschool to the end of year 12 is going to set you back anywhere from about $360,000 to $550,000. Now, we're talking averages here, so there are obviously going to be lots of variations there: public school, private school, international schools, but that gives you a rough number. Now, the more alarming statistic that has been identified is that around 2/3 or just under of Australian parents have made no plans for their child's education in terms of saving. So what I'd like to share with you today are 6 very simple ideas for how you may want to think about saving for your child's education. So let's dive right in. The first and simplest option is a savings account. Now, here I'm just referring to a regular bank account. The one thing to be very careful or mindful of is that a lot of children's savings accounts may in fact incur additional fees. So if that is the case and you can't find a bank that allows you to avoid these fees, I would suggest simply adding the funds to your own account and keeping an Excel spreadsheet or some form of spreadsheet that they can also see and track. They can see how much they've got there, how much interest they've earned, how much they've contributed, any money they've withdrawn, and avoid paying those excess fees. Now, that's the first and simplest option. The second option, very similar to the first, is to utilise your offset account. So if you have a mortgage in Australia, particularly on your own home, and are paying interest on that mortgage, which would obviously be the case for everyone who does have a loan in Australia, you could actually put their savings in your offset account and pay them back the interest that it's actually saving you. Typically, this is going to be a much higher rate of return than actually just putting it in an everyday savings account. Again, I would suggest using an Excel spreadsheet or something similar to actually allow your child or children to track their own progress. The third option is what they call an education fund. Now, these are typically sold all over the world and can in fact be invested, so it's a regular contribution plan. The one thing to be very mindful of here is any costs involved. Just make sure you're aware of the fees and any exit penalties that are involved. But it can be a good way, if you plan to save a certain amount on a regular basis, to provide for your child's future education. The fourth option, which is a bit more flexible than the third, is to utilise what they call an insurance bond or a regular savings plan. Now, this is typically more flexible with greater choice around the actual term of the plan than option 3, the education bonds. But again, just make sure that you're aware of the fees involved and any exit clauses so that you can make sure it's designed around when you're going to need to draw that money. If it's for university, if you're planning on public school for primary and private school for secondary, for example, just make sure that the timing actually matches. Again, similar to the third option, this allows you to contribute a set amount each month for a number of years that can be invested based on your own risk profile. A lot of these now offer a lot of low-cost investment options, so we're seeing some good growth in this space. The fifth option is to utilise what they call a managed fund or a unit trust, whereby you invest a certain amount. There's no obligation to keep contributing, but it may be part of your strategy, and that money gets invested by the fund manager. Now, that fund manager will obviously charge a fee for their time and expertise to manage that money, but it may be a way to ensure that the investments are not put at too great a risk and that you've got some professional oversight of that money. Now, the sixth option, and again a relatively simple one, is to utilise direct equities or shares. Now, that means, again, if you're investing on a regular basis, a set amount each month that you decide on, you've got complete flexibility, and you then decide which shares that you plan to invest that money in. Now, the one thing to be very mindful of here is the brokerage cost. There may not be large ongoing fees, but that brokerage cost could have a significant impact on your overall investment returns, particularly if you're diversifying that savings amount or that contribution each and every month. There are 6 savings options for you to consider to save for your kids or children's education. Remember, the earlier you start saving, the easier it's going to be. Got more time on your side, more time for that money to be working for you. Remember, be careful and consider your options and make sure it actually works with the timelines. If you have any questions at all about the options, or saving for your own children, or you have any questions that we haven't yet covered, fire them through. We'd love to hear from you, and maybe we can even turn them into a future video. Thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time.